Saiyan Day Teq Vegeta can do it all, but what should you build for his hidden potential system? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are taking a look at the Dokkan Festival Teq Vegeta, this year's Saiyan Day unit, and trying to figure out what would be the best hidden potential build for this guy. After all, he's kind of doing a lot of things, almost everything, if you will, depending on how you're using him. So let's start by taking a look at the unit itself. So we're not too concerned about the leader skill for this, but we'll take a look at his passive and his super attack. So his super attack in base form is raising attack and defense infinitely while also sealing the super attack. It's a guaranteed seal, so that attack and defense raise he's getting is a 20% raise. Because you know, it's not greatly raising or anything like that. Now, he does have key 2 and attack and defense 150%. He has a guaranteed guard and reduces damage received by 18% and launches an additional super attack for 3 turns. So right there, that already tells us he's got some additionals built into him. So we'll want to keep that in mind as we read forward. He also has this ability while in base that the higher his HP is, the more attack and defense he gets, right? Up to 150% in each stat before attacking and before receiving an attack. So as he loses HP, he does tend to get weaker, but he'll still keep his natural guard and damage reduction. So, you know, after a turn or two on the defense side of things, it doesn't matter too much. Where it can start to really play a role is in his attack, and you do see that quite often, especially against type disadvantaged enemies. Now, he also gets an additional defense 31% with each attack received, up to 80%. And launches an additional attack that has a great chance to become a super attack when there's an ally who includes Goku attacking in the same turn. So as long as you have that, this dude has the potential to do 4 supers for the first 3 turns. If he does not, then you're looking at 3 supers, but more or less 3 to 4 supers every turn is what you're going to be seeing out of this guy in base form, all the while stacking, right? I have run this guy plenty of times even without a Goku and still consistently hitting 3 supers with hidden potential investment into him and stacking up that defense quite quickly, especially when you combine that with guard. Ends up working out quite well. Now, where things really start to spin out of control is once you get to the ability to transform him, right? He can be transformed on the 3rd turn as long as you are 18% or more HP. Once you do transform, he turns into an absolute powerhouse here, right? Now he is key 3, attack and defense 180%. He's guarding all attacks guaranteed. Now his damage reduction is permanent. It is no longer tied to those 3 turns. He also has an additional 180% when attacking, if 30% or more when attacking. He launches an additional attack that has a 70% chance to becoming a super attack. So he's already got an additional built in there. Now he starts to really do some nasty things when you start to see that his attack gets buffed up to 110% the lower the enemy's HP gets, right? So starting with 30% at 80% HP for the enemy, then another 30% added when they get to 60, and another attack 50% when they get to 40, all right? And it's just kind of snowballing from there. Add into the fact that he has an additional 180% when he gets hit on his defense, and then has a guaranteed super attack after he receives an attack. And that guaranteed super that he gets after receiving an attack, he will action break the enemy, so it'll basically cancel the next action done by the enemy after he supers. He does have an active skill that massively raises his attack, causes ultimate damage, and gives him guaranteed crits for the turn that he uses it. So, I mean, more or less, that Big Bang attack is designed to be used at 80% health or less of the enemy. which you will, or when he has 3 attacks given, and then basically letting you just steamroll the enemy until he is dead, right? Because more than likely that singular Big Bang you do will place the enemy below the threshold to begin launching those massively built up attacks. So the question now becomes, seeing that all he's doing, the additionals, the crits, what do you give him? Well, I think to understand that, we got to take a look at his stats here, right? So shout out to Halvard for the calcs here, if you guys can see him on screen, right? His max possible defense is 2 million. That is with a standard 40% supporting rotation after 3 super attacks after 6 previous super attacks. So that is actually pretty impressive. You are going to be seeing this usually by turn 3 to 5, depending on when he showed up, right? By the end of turn 3, start of turn 5, maybe up to turn 6 if he was on turn 2, right? So very, very impressive. He is absolutely insane. So you really want to be able to take advantage of these additional supers, right? So if you want to be able to take advantage of him, we got to look at our handy dandy hidden potential guide, right? Him being a tech type means that his default is critical hit, meaning he has a guaranteed 5 critical hit, just like STR types. But I don't think critical hit is the full investment you should go. After all, since he is a stacker, you want to take advantage of that stacking ability and invest yourself into additional attack. By investing in additional attack, you are giving yourself an additional 50% chance to proc an additional super. That means, again, like for those first 3 turns, you have the possibility of doing 3 to 4 supers every single turn. Very, very helpful when building that defense, especially if you want to build the defense quickly. He's also building attack, mind you, right, which really helps his active skill once you get those stats up. So as a tech type, if you had 2 dupes in him, you could push him up to 15 skill nodes, which would give you roughly a 30% skill boost to that. Combine that with the additional proc that an additional combine that with any additional skill orbs that you may add, you could push this guy up to 25, even to 27. If you get the special Pure Saiyan skill orbs or Vegeta's family skill orbs, you could push this guy all the way up to about 28 on the combo attack, right? If you can get the level 6 skill orbs. So that is probably the best way to go. That extra 50% chance is for the super from the 30, roughly 40% chance on the additional, right? If you had a full investment of like 28, I think is the max you can get, right? That is 42% a chance of doing an additional. So that's pretty good. Or not 42, 46%, almost 50% extra chance to do an additional super attack. So very, very nice. Now, that begs the question, well, what do you go with for your sub if you have the dupes in him? Now, my personal recommendation is to go critical hit as a tech type unit. If you go sub crit, you will end up with roughly about 11, which means that you could push it all the way up to a little over 20. If you had 2 silver combos and critical hits, that'll be very, very helpful for him. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. And the reason why you want the critical hit is because in base form, right, he has no innate critical hit, meaning it's really hard for him to bypass a lot of enemy damage reduction because he doesn't have that, especially if he's fighting type disadvantage enemies. Now, it's not too big of a deal because typically your slot 2 units next to him are taking care of that anyways, but it is kind of disappointing seeing him next to King Vegeta and not being able to hit big numbers, even though his attack stat is showing a starting turn of 9 million, not being able to hit those big numbers because he can't crit, right? The second thing is depending on when you transform him into Super Saiyan, if the enemy's not below 80% or you haven't taken the 3 hits yet, he won't be able to launch the Big Bang attack, which means he has no critical hit. So having that little extra critical hit for those situations is far more useful than anything else, in my opinion. So primary additionals, secondary critical hit. I do not recommend going dodge for this character, simply because in both his Super Saiyan and his base form, he does require getting hit to get a lot of his extra buffs, right? He needs to be hit in order to get that guaranteed additional in his Super Saiyan form with the action break. So you don't want to be dodging that attack. So I definitely recommend not going dodge with this character. Additional and combo attack is the way to go. If you want to kind of really push the level of the Big Bang attack and his supers when in Super Saiyan, you could very well sneak into super attack boost or a general attack boost through the skill orbs. But I mean, that's personally up to you, right? If your skill orbs you invested were like, say, combo attack and attack increase, that might be very helpful, or even like a level 7 attack increase on the bronze would be very helpful for him, just to get that little extra oomph out of his active skill. So guys, that is my recommendation for Teq Vegeta's hidden potential. Again, full additionals with sub combo attack or sub critical hit, I think, is the best route to go. But you know, that's just my opinion. I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. So anyways guys, that's it for the video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and in the comments down below let me know what is the hidden potential build you plan on going for this guy. If you manage to pull a dupe of the Saiyan Day unit, what are you investing in him? Again, I think additionals is the way to go, but I'm curious what you're thinking. Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.